Hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this time I'm gonna review the Dongle Dac Xduoo LINK2 the Balance Edition, or the Xduoo LINK2 belt that costs around $150. And first of all, thank you for my friend Muhammad Syauqi for providing me with this review unit. So just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, feature, and then sound quality and also comparison. Now let's take a look at the build quality. For me, this is already a really good device. It is all made of sandblasted service aluminum, and you get 2.5D curved glass on both sides. And on the front you get this Xduoo logo with LINK2 bell here. On the back side you get this just made from Xduoo, made in China, but you get some buttons. On here you get the high-res logo, you get the play pause button. This button is simply for play and pause, and also you got volume control here. It's only for volume control. I couldn't find anything else that works. So it's simply play, pause, volume up and volume down button, and then you get some modes here. The UAC1 mode is made specifically for PlayStation and also Switch, while the turbo mode is simply, I think this is simply a high gain mode, and then you get two plug model, the 3.5 and also 4.4 model. Before talking about the sound quality, I'd like to tell you that during my user experience, it is simply a wonderful device because it's really sleek. I don't find any sharp edges, so whenever I would like to carry it anywhere, it is a really simple device and really nice to carry and to hold and touch and to control. I really enjoy when I have a Dongle Dac that has volume control especially. It's really different from the other LVDS B1 here that doesn't have volume control, so I need to control them using my phone, volume up and down. Somehow, personally, I really enjoy having this volume control, and it's all on one side, so I could control them very easily. So just play, pause, and also volume up and volume down, and also they doesn't really get hot even though I have been using them for a lot of hours. So yeah, they stay cool, and I really enjoyed my user experience with the Xduoo LINK2 Balance. In the specification, you will find it is using the AC Dual CS43131 from Syauqi, and also it has power of 125 milliwatt for 32 ohms for its unbalanced, and using balance it will have power for 270 milliwatt at 32 ohms. So on the DAC dongle world, I think that's quite powerful if I compare them with the previous Dongle Dac that I have reviewed, like the VOK-A3 only have around 250 milliwatts at 32 ohms. Actually it's only 20 milliwatts difference, but using some of my devices, some of my cans, I could tell the difference. I could hear that this Dongle Dac is a little bit better in terms of overall power, especially when you are using the balance mode. Before talking about the comparison, I'd like to tell you about the difference that I perceive in sound quality, not only power, but I also perceive difference in the sound of using the 3.5mm jack compared to the balance 4.4. The 3.5 single-ended, this Xduoo LINK2 Balance, I have to be honest with you that if you are only using this 3.5mm, personally for me, it's not really worth the price of $150. It doesn't really have this kind of resolution or details that I would expect at this price point, especially since I have heard and also reviewed the VOK-A3. For me, using the single-ended only, the VOK-A3 gives better resolution and details from my cans compared to this Xduoo LINK2 Balance. But this Xduoo LINK2 Balance does sound more organic, you might say. Maybe even for some people it sounds more analog because it gives this kind of warm signature that is bold in the bass, also smooth mid-range and smooth treble. So yeah, the overall presentation, the tonality of this Xduoo LINK2 bell is simply a warm sounding DAC. But it sounds almost compressed in certain areas for me, especially when I'm comparing them with the VOKA3 using the single-ended only, especially around the treble area. I feel that it's too smoothened in some areas, so I'm losing a little bit of sparkle, especially when I'm using some of my IMs like the Sennheiser IE600. I really like the treble, the energetic treble from my Sennheiser IE600, but I'm kind of missing that. I mean, compared to my other devices, it's quite clear that this Xduoo Link2 Bell is definitely smoothing the treble a bit, so I don't really get the sparkle that I used to get in other of my devices. But it will be changed completely when you are using this 4.4 balance. Using the 4.4 balance, it is simply open the treble for me and also open the soundstage more. So yeah, for me personally, when I'm trying them both, when I'm trying the single-ended and then balance, especially I'm using my some of my IMs that are using some convertible jacks like this Moondrop PCC. I'm using this cable, so I could change them using the can still the same, but I'm changing using only the jacks. It's clear for me that the 4.4 balance gives definitely upgrade sound. So when you are buying this Xduoo Link2 balance, please try the balanced connection. So because for me it is very clear, it's clear as a day that this Xduoo Link2 balance is made and maximized for its balanced connection somehow. It's really opening the treble that I get from this, like I said, using this single-ended only, it somehow smoothened the treble a little bit too much for my preference, but using this 4.4 balance really open up the treble. Now let's get more about the sound quality of this Xduoo Link2 Bell. For me, it is simply a warm sounding DAC that has bold treble that goes quite deep, but also I get that the bass somehow get thickened, so it's not a really neutral DAC for me. It's not really neutral dongle. It's more giving us thickness in the bass area, even though it goes deep, but it's somehow I feel there's a little more decay comparing them with my Ovidius B1 or this QDX 5K using some of my cans. And the mid-range, it is somehow smooth. I don't feel that, especially in this, in my Shure S12, that is somehow has this somehow a little bit peaky mid-range at some songs, certain songs. It gets smoothened and I get a little bit better thickness in the body for male vocals using this Xduoo Link2 balance. Also the treble that I used to say that this Shure S12, I consider them to be somehow a little bit aggressive on the treble side. Using this Xduoo Link2 balance smoothened that aggressiveness to the point that for me it's simply a really nice sounding treble. It's still extended, it's still sparkly, but it's themed a little bit more. So yeah, for me this will smoothen some of the IMs that you might feel have a really good resolution but can be a little bit sharp on some places. This Xduoo Link2 balance will help you with that. But for some IMs that are already warm, like for example, like my Sony IR-M9, I feel it just feels a little bit blunted at some time, so it gets too thick for me. I don't feel it's lacking sparkle and energy on the higher frequencies. Even though I'm using the balance mode, it's still lacking some sparkle. So yeah, I don't really recommend using them with some of the already warm cans, but using maybe neutral or brighter cans will be better compatible for this Xduoo Link2 Bell. Yeah, now let's talk about comparison here. First of all, I like to compare them with the VOKA3 that I have previously reviewed and also compared. The VOKA3 is the complete opposite of this Xduoo Link2 balance. While comparing the VOKA3 with other of my devices, all of my DACs, it is simply clear that the VOKA3 is a thin, bright sounding that somehow sounds almost analytical but with abundant of details. Comparing them with this Xduoo Link2 Bell, it is simply a much more warm, thicker sounding, sounds more natural, you might say. It sounds more analog, but sometimes it toned down the details a little bit more. So it's definitely different and completely depends on your preference or depends on your match with your cans. If you want something that is thin but detailed kind of sounding, you might find the VOK3 is simply a better choice. But if you want a bolder sounding, more analog, more simply warmer sounding DAC, the Xduoo Link 2 Bell is definitely the one for you. And comparing them with my daily DAC here, the OVDSB1. OVDSB1 really doesn't get hot and it takes only a little bit of battery at times. That's why it is still my daily dongles that I'm using. Comparing them side by side, it is simply clear that for me they are both, I would categorize them both as warm sounding DAC, but the Xduoo Link 2 Bell, it's a bit warmer, especially because of the treble side. The Xduoo Link 2 Bell has more smoothened, more rolled off treble compared to the OVDSB1, that I would say somehow a little bit more balanced in the upper mid-range to treble section. It's more open simply, but the bass area, I feel that the bass is more mid-bassy kind of sound in the OVDSB1. It doesn't go as deep as the VOK3 or this Xduoo Link 2 Bell. Yes, even the VOK3, even though it's much thinner in the 3, but somehow the bass is quite deep. The OVDSB1 doesn't really reach deep for me. This Xduoo Link 2 Bell definitely goes really deep into the sub bass area and also the treble side. If you are using only the 3.5 single-ended, I would say that the OVDSB1 is more open, is more clear, but using the 4.4 is on the same level of quantity on the treble side, but it is more layered in the Xduoo Link 2 Bell. And overall, using the 3.5, I simply like the OVDSB1 better, but using the 4.4 balance, it simply feels almost like an upgrade. You get better extension on the bass area and you get better soundstage and imaging, also layered from the sound from this Xduoo Link 2 Bell. Yeah, for me, OVDSB1, you want something upgrade from this one, just go buy this Xduoo Link 2 Bell and make sure you are using the 4.4 balance. Also comparing them with the QLix 5K, I feel that the QLix 5K is the most neutral sounding one of them all, but it lacks dynamics. Also the timbre, somehow when I'm using some BA IMs on mine, it feels it's the most, you might say, digital sounding. It feels more plasticky. You get that the BA timbre is more forward sometimes, it's more listened. I can hear more BA timbre in this QLix 5K, but in terms of balancedness, the QLix 5K for me the most balanced one, but it feels kind of flat for a lot of songs that needs dynamics. The Xduoo Link 2 balance, again, it's more dynamics, it's more thick, it's more warm, but using the 4.4 is simply an upgrade for the QLix 5K. It's, even though it's more warmer, but I get more dynamics, I get more expression and emotions from all the music that I heard. Okay, I think that's all I could say about this Xduoo Link 2 balance. For me, if you want to buy this Xduoo Link 2 balance, make sure you will try the 4.4 balance, because for a lot of my cans that I've tested, it's definitely worth it if you are buying it with the intention of using the balance. I think that's all I could say about this Dongle Dac. I hope you enjoyed this review and see you next time. Bye bye.